Hello and welcome to News Tonight. I'm Rhoda Ngonzi, on sign language Mugalu Mohammed. Let's take a look at our top stories for the night. President Yoweri Museveni meets World Health Organization Director, discuss Ebola situation. Police says UN officials to record statement over Bank of Uganda saga. On the international scene, ousted Sudan President Bashir makes first appearance since coup. And in the world of sports, CAF appoints 7 ambassadors for AFCON 2019. Hello once again. President Yoweri Museveni has said that government of Uganda is containing Ebola just like it has been able to control terrorism over the years. The president was today speaking during a meeting at State House in Entebbe with World Health Organization Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom, who is in Uganda to assess the Ebola situation. President Museveni said that the government of neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo must also deal with the security situation in the eastern part of the country because the issue of security is one of the contributing factors to the spread of the Ebola disease. The World Health Organization director revealed that the efficacy of the Ebola vaccine that was administered to the people that came in contact with the victims stands at 97.8% success, which he said is deemed as very good in combating the threat. He commended Uganda for always being prepared to contain Ebola outbreak whenever it crosses from the DRC. He thanked President Yoweri Museveni for his support and focus on primary health care at village level. Dr. Adhanom proposed to President Museveni the idea of training health educators at parish levels in Uganda to sensitize and teach people about basic primary health care. He reiterated that this system was being used in Ethiopia and would go a long way to gradually help in reducing health costs. Also, the president has said that developed countries have advanced economically because they realize that a big population density, human resource and infrastructure development, as well as large markets, were major components that triggered national development. He was delivering an opportunity lecture and passing out 72 Army officers who completed a one-year course at Ginger Best Senior Command and Staff College, Chimaka.
President Yoweri Museveni has delivered an opportunity lecture to 72 Army officers who he also passed out at the conclusion of their one-year course at the Ginger Best Senior Command and Staff College, Chimaka. The students hailed from host Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, South Sudan, and South Africa.
So, if you don't develop the 4 sectors, you don't develop commercial agriculture. You don't develop industries. You don't develop services. You don't develop ICT now. This is a new industry. Where will you be?
President Museveni said that developed countries such as the United States of America, China, and India have advanced economically because they realized that a big population density, human resource and infrastructure development, as well as large markets, were major and crucial components that are necessary for triggering faster national development. He further stressed the need for developing countries to focus on the immediate solutions to their underdevelopment by appreciating the inhibiting bottlenecks such as ideological disorientation, subsistence production, lack of infrastructure and narrow markets, among others.
The fragmented African market I had mentioned it, because you see, if you don't have an integrated market, there's no way you can sell in a big way.
The president also said that education is a crucial element in propelling the development of a country, adding that railway and water transport are important to ensure low cost of doing business.
Even if the people are educated, but you don't have good roads, you don't have the railway. We need the railway. The railway, to have low transport costs, even the road is not good. You need the railway. The railway and the water are the ones which can give us low transport costs. That's why we are building these railways in Kenya, Tanzania.
He further noted that industrialization helps to create jobs for people that are educated to ensure the stemming of the phenomenon of brain drain to exterior employment. The commandant of the college, Lieutenant General Andrew Guti, thanked President Museveni for sparing time to impart factual information affecting the development of African societies with enriched historical backgrounds to the students. UBC TV, Harriet Nambi.
The great overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God worldwide, Nigerian-born Pastor Enoch Adeboye has concluded his 7 days prayer and ministering visit to Uganda. He and his wife came to Uganda at the invitation of the First Lady and Minister for Education and Sports, Janet Museveni. They preached the gospel of unity, greater glory and servant leadership, and also blessed their congregation.
Ugandans. Pastor Enoch Adeboye jetted into the renowned evangelist and the world's 50th influential person. Pastor Enoch Adeboye has left after a bout of prayer sessions and blessings to Ugandans. Pastor Enoch Adeboye jetted into the country on Tuesday last week aboard a personal Gulfstream jetliner. His first stopover was at Entebbe International Airport, VVIP section, where he began prayer sessions for Uganda.
Father, please accept our thanks in Jesus' name.
Adeboye ministered prayer gatherings at Colombo Independence Grounds and Imperial Royal Hotel in Kampala. The First Lady, Janet Museveni, joined born-again Christians during the Holy Ghost night held at Kololo Independence Grounds.
I therefore believe that our being here tonight is divine.
Pastor Adeboye preached on greater glory and its attributes, which include healing, providence, freedom from demonic bondage, and deliverance.
And I am here tonight because God has made up his mind to move somebody here from glory to glory.
In another event, the Feast of Easter, organized by his wife, Pastor Folu Adeboye, Mrs. Adeboye preached about reawakening God's way of leading and women in leadership.
Your best cannot be known in the kingdom except to recognize the best in the life of your sister. And this is what we want to promote.
The Feast of Easter is an annual event organized by Pastor Mrs. Folu Adeboye, which gathers women in ministry, female leaders in society and government to interact for the purpose of fellowship, prayer, renewal, growth and development. Uganda joins 20 other countries where the Feast of Easter is held annually since its first inception in Nigeria in 2002. The Adeboyes left congregations with blessings and hope as they continued their ministering journey across Africa and the rest of the world. Remedios Simbonye, UBC News in Kampala.
Officials from United Nations and USAID are to record statements to CID over the Bank of Uganda excess money printing saga. Police spokesperson Fred Enanga revealed that the move during a media briefing after believing that they have a hand in the controversy. Several officials from Bank of Uganda and those at Entebbe International Airport, several officials from Bank of Uganda and at Entebbe International Airport were arrested last Wednesday after details emerged that excess 5 pallets of banknotes were illegally printed and vanished after arrival at the airport.
The Directorate will, however, continue working alongside the Anti-Corruption Unit of State House to accomplish the investigations. These investigations are to be effectively supervised by the Director of Criminal Investigations, that is AIGP Kulo Grace, and they are proceeding with lines of questioning on how the banking process supported the printing of the banknotes, whether there was any wrongdoing on the part of the bank or not. You're all aware several statements have been obtained from several directors, managers and employees with knowledge on the whole documentation process. Some of these include the directors for banking at Bank of Uganda. We have the Director Legal has also recorded a statement with us. We also have auditors from the bank who have also recorded statements. Additional statements were also being obtained from NHAS, URA, customs officials, and further arrangements were also in place to obtain statements from the lawyers of the UN and selected business persons who are being mentioned as far as these transactions are concerned. Of course, our areas of interest are how the need for the printing arose, who initiated the request, whether there was an approval from the board or not, the entire procurement and supply chain, the amounts involved, the serial numbers of the notes that were printed, and how the non-official but genuine notes could have arose. So I want to inform the public that this is a very straight case of lapse in procedure, and we want to thank the Management Bank of Uganda for their level of cooperation so far. We do have 6 suspects in custody, and more details will be availed progressively. We just brought out this to just let you know that our Directorate of Criminal Investigations has fully taken over the investigations.
Meanwhile, Korea-based Science and Technology Policy Institute has entered into partnership with Uganda National Council of Science and Technology to support innovation. The partnership has resulted in the implementation of K-Innovation Development Assistance Program.
One of the challenges Uganda is currently trying to address is translating research results into products that can go on the market, but also solutions to human challenges. The country is trying to harness science, technology and innovation, plus information and communication technology to steer economic growth and development. Science and Technology Policy Institute of Korea has entered into partnership with Uganda National Council for Science and Technology to support Uganda's innovation policy.
Technology and innovation area. So, based on our experience, we'd like to share it with our Ugandan partners.
The partnership has resulted into K-Innovation Development Assistance Program.
So agriculture is one area of focus. Another one is renewable energy. Yes, we are working on some projects to use wind energy to produce power. We also have projects on use of biomass, vegetation, and you can use it to produce, for example, biogas.
Focus will also be put on technologies for water provision for both crop and livestock to help boost farmers' incomes.
Livestock, you also need to have water during the drought. There are losses in terms of production of milk and also losses of animals on the farms when there is a drought. But also water for consumption. Uganda is urbanizing very fast and we need safe, clean water, especially in the urban as well as rural areas. For example, gravity water schemes.
Uganda National Council for Science and Technology describes Korea's support as timely since the country is trying to embrace ICT and innovation to achieve economic growth and development. Bella Masangano and Adia Nakuti for UBC News.
And the 2019 June semester examinations for nurses and midwives have started in 92 nursing and midwifery schools and 88 examination seating centers. The exams cater to both diploma and certificate candidates in the different disciplines. $37,296 candidates have commenced nursing and midwifery semester examinations. At Mengo and Mulago School of Nursing and Midwifery, the exercise started smoothly.
Examination materials managed to get here on time under heavy security deployed by the Uganda Police alongside a representative from the Uganda Nurses and Midwives Examination Board. The examinations started on time with a total of 192 candidates.
Juliet Nasiwa Twesiji, Principal Officer Uganda Nurses and Midwifery Examinations Board, confirmed that there will be no cases of exam malpractice.
We've deployed over 1,200 stakeholders to oversee the examinations. We also have, among the stakeholders, we have the police who are keeping safe custody of our examinations for each examination center. And we've not had any information that there was examination leakage. And even up to now, we've not yet had reports of examination malpractice as we've started so far.
She also assured center supervisors, regional supervisors, center coordinators, invigilators, practical examiners, more so those deployed in areas where there is an outbreak of Ebola, to be confident that the Ministry of Health has handled the concern to its maximum. Candidates have started with theory exams, and in the second week, they will start practicals. Exams will end on 28th June 2019 in all the 88 examination centers from the 99 nurses and midwifery schools. Tony Senaulia compiled this story for UBC. A multi-million learning internet library has been commissioned at Trinity College Nabingo in Wakiso District. This is part of skilling and empowering girls and women of Uganda in information communication technology. In 2017, President Yoweri Museveni donated 4,400 million shillings to Trinity College Nabingo to start an e-library. Let's take a look.
The first multi-million learning internet library will equip the girl child with information technology. A 400 million e-library funded by President Yoweri Museveni has been commissioned at Trinity College Nabingo in Wakiso District. The First Lady and Minister for Education and Sports, General Museveni, promised to support technology that improves the teaching and learning process. This was contained in the speech read for her by the Government Chief Whip, Ruth Nankabirwa.
This imposes on all of us the obligation to fully equip and utilize the e-learning library as a more cost-effective way of handling the rising numbers of students, which I am told has reached 1,700 within the last 10 years. I salute the leadership of this school at all levels and pledge to do whatever it is in our means to support your efforts to improve access and use of technology to improve teaching and learning processes.
In 2017, during the Platinum Jubilee of Trinity College Nabingo, President Museveni donated 400 million shillings for installing the server computers in the e-library. The headmistress Dorothy Matovu said the e-library will be a center of training for schools in the area. She appealed to Ministry of Education and Sports to support the completion of the e-library project.
It needs to be stocked with more 410 computers and accessories. We are therefore soliciting for assistance through you from the Ministry of Education and Sports in purchasing more computers and accessories required for the completion of the electronic library project.
The function started with a mass led by Msonuri Dr. Lawrence Samusu, assisted by the clergy. Story filed by Salongo Kasibante for UBC News.
The Prime Minister's office will start an environmental conservation initiative in refugee settlement camps to address environmental degradation. Uganda is host to close to 1.3 million refugees who are destroying the environment.
1982 to almost early 90, it was covered by forest. But as we continued...
Pastor Godfrey Byaruhanga, the proprietor of Angels Care Schools in Chegoga district, used to traverse forests and bushes settling refugees in Chakatu as a youth in the late 1980s and mid-1990s. But what used to be a thick forest then, when Byaruhanga was working as an assistant camp commandant, is now an open ground with scattered trees. This is after the refugees cut down trees for building mud and water houses for their homes and clearing squares of land for agriculture.
Now, there is a very big difference. In those days, the Chakatu refugee settlement was being covered by forest. Everything was green. But as of now, there is no tree standing on. Everything has been extincted. So
what has aggravated this environmental destruction, however, is cutting down trees for firewood, charcoal and grass, or for cooking food on a daily basis. This ugly scenario motivated Pastor Godfrey Byaruhanga and his Angels Care Ministries to explore alternative fuel for cooking that includes turning agricultural waste into charcoal briquettes and planting on wood lot.
So what I did, I established charcoal briquette making as an alternative source for fuel, for firewood. Because here, people, they use firewood, they cut trees to make for their firewood, to cook. They cut trees for house construction. So on fuel for cooking, I decided to make charcoal briquettes, which has been done. Actually,
the commandant, Chakatu refugee settlement camp, Robert Baryamwesiga, says on average, a refugee uses close to 3 kilograms of wood fuel to prepare a meal, and with close to 100,000 refugees in Chakatu, the camp loses close to 300,000 kilograms of wood fuel per day, and yet little is done to replenish the vegetation cover on the 74 square kilometer chunk of land.
In a refugee influx, environment is the first victim. The refugees who come, they need firewood to cook, they need construction materials to put up their shelter. When they are digging, they need also trees to open land for agriculture, and so on and so forth. So the environment is usually that first victim, and we are aware of that. To mitigate the damage, in the first place, we look at minimizing the cutting of trees for construction by distributing construction poles.
But Yamwesiga says the Office of the Prime Minister has now adopted an aggressive tree planting campaign and wetland protection to control environmental damage within the camp.
We've also marked out some areas, especially wetlands, to ensure that they don't encroach on wetlands. We've done wetland protection interventions by measuring the wetlands and marking them. Actually, that process is still going on to ensure that those wetlands can remain intact.
Refugees are regularly given tree and fruit seedlings, planted around their houses, and sensitized on dangers of environmental degradation.
Then, of course, we are raising also some seedlings, the tree nurseries, to ensure that we can plant big maturing trees in order for us to mitigate the issue of firewood. Lastly,
but Yamwesiga also says to stop more tree destruction, the Office of the Commandant gives free poles to new arrivals and the most vulnerable for construction and free briquettes for cooking.
That every refugee is encouraged to plant trees. So it's an activity that we want to undertake all of us together. Yeah, but of course it takes time to change the attitude of those refugees. Some refugees come when they expect to go back maybe in less than 1 year's time, and they don't see any sense in planting a tree. So that's why we need to spend a lot of time engaging them in as far as environmental matters are concerned.
Natuela Benson, an assistant camp commandant in the Chakatu Chegogo district, is in charge of ensuring that refugees plant and care for trees.
The whole place is bare. Refugees have cut all the trees, and this is a reforestation project of the settlement, and we are not only doing it here, but also in other zones. But we are also addressing fewer challenges. As these trees are growing up, at least refugees will be able to cut the branches and use them as firewood.
Natuela says the camp administration has also set up woodlots on hilltops as part of the environmental restoration campaign.
Yes, we are encouraging refugees to plant trees, and in some areas we have woodlots that are established by community members. They organize themselves in a group, and OPM gives them land, and they plant tree seedlings.
Chakatu Refugee Settlement Camp was set up in 1983 to host Rwandan refugees that were then scattered in several districts. However, now it is hosting refugees from other countries, mainly the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, Somalia, Eritrea, Burundi, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Pakistan. In all, Uganda is currently hosting close to 1.3 million refugees from 13 countries, and any additional refugee means more land cleared of vegetation for constructing a house and wood fuel for cooking food. Haimana Deo, reporting for UBC News.
Meanwhile, Ugandans must stop littering in waterways in order to avoid diseases caused by poor hygiene. Executive Director, National Environment Management Authority, James Okrut, said the authority is controlling the use of polythene bags.
The law, the National Environment Act number 5 of 2019, and that law specializes very clear. The law puts a cap on 30 microns and below, and that's the problematic polyethylene bags that we have. It's not allowed, and it's supposed to be gotten out, and no manufacturing, no making of them here. But the other aspects of the law, for you to manufacture the higher, the polyethylene of thicker gauge than 30 microns, you need to put in place a system for collecting back the product from wherever it's being sold. You need to label. Okay? You need to label that if Texas has sons and the producer of this, all your camera must have your label. So that at the collection time or where you collect it, you know that this is your product. So the producer extended responsibility provision has been put in the law, and we're going to apply it as soon as possible. So everybody is aware. So if you go to manufacture the polyethylene bag, which is higher microns than 30, fine, but make sure you are responsible for. First, you can't produce it without label.
And with that, we take a quick break. When we return, Patricia Lukoma will take on business and international news.
Every dream has a challenging journey. Ours began in 1998 with a mission to drive the development of a robust communications sector in Uganda. We created structures to champion the dream. We've evolved, made discoveries, supported great minds, empowered Ugandans, and fostered a vibrant culture, enabling communication for all. Down the years, we've created memories and networks, uniting generations and building great partnerships. Together, we can go even further. UCC, celebrating 20 years of achievements.
7th chapter music na city events watusako take over pare come bere come na mwenda bebe jamponda be
Calvin Jangonda, yo, what's up, fans of Spice Dana? I'm here to let you know I'll be performing at Freedom City on the 20th of July. Take over party. Nick Calvin, the entertainer, and we're celebrating at 11 years in the music business. I can't wait to see you guys. I love you and support him.
It's Spice Dana, Mrs. Samagra, B2C, Ravidom Tuju, White Bender, King Saha, Lydia Jasmine, Little Kids, Voltage Music, Maureen Antume, Fefe Busi, Levinson, Exodasa, Tip Swizzy, Sharon Payton, Robadaba, Alento from USA, Palazzo, Chosen Blood, Vivian Tendo, Rened, Aziza Sion, Senga Sebanga, Topika Sente, Naira Ali, Katera Africa, Hey Paz, Rudin White, Mr. Kamenyo, Big Guy, Outstanding, Nabaimbe Bananabanji, Runechi Wajita Gwana Mefu, Mwana Mnes Calvin the Entertainer, Gajagu Zemiaka Kumina Gumunga Kueresa.
And on sign language, we're still joined by Mugalu Mohammed. Now, straight away into business, Uganda government is linking Turkish investors to Uganda in order to identify key areas of investment. About 50 investors are in Uganda for a business forum with Ugandan business stakeholders to discuss how the two countries can boost trade.
Uganda imports $40 million and exports $20 million to Turkey, therein registering imbalance of trade. The two countries are now in talks to identify key areas that can ignite trade with each other, the latest being that Ugandan products be produced locally and exported directly to Turkey.
They have a cargo plane coming here, I think, once a week, but also cargo and passenger every day. So we can even export fresh fruits, for example, pineapples, okra. I'm told they like okra, for example.
So instead of producing in Turkey and selling here, they will be producing here, selling to Uganda, but also beyond, to South Sudan, to Tanzania, maybe to Kenya, to the DRC, and to Rwanda. Another company will be a construction company.
More focus is also channeled to investment in agricultural commodities to boost the investment climate, though heavy taxation remains the biggest challenge for investment.
There's been a tax of 56% for our products to go to Turkey. But we are negotiating. If they could reduce, then we export to the market. Also, information. You see, people don't know. It is very important that these people come and give information for our traders to know where they can get the market.
So this is why we brought more than 100, close to 200 people together so that they can meet with each other. We introduced them Turkey to the Ugandans. We introduced Uganda to the Turkish businessmen. They see that this country is a very safe, secure place. It's a good place to invest. It's a good place to trade with. So our aim is to bring as many people as possible.
Other products spotted for investment include oil, construction, ICT, fruits, tea, vegetables, and fish fillet, among others. Ivan Kahwa, UBC News in Kampala.
Now, in the agricultural sector, farmers from Champisi sub-county in Mukono district have been equipped with practical skills on the growth of quick maturing commercial horticulture crops. The training, supported by the Dutch Embassy, will improve farmer household incomes as they exploit the proximity of Kampala market.
Farmers in districts of Mukono, Wakiso and Mpigi must exploit opportunity of Kampala market in their proximity. They must also start growing short, maturing commercial horticultural crops like tomatoes, cabbages, sweet pepper for the market. Local farmers from Lusanja village in Champisi sub-county in Mukono district have had a farmers field training to learn agronomy practices. Syngenta Uganda, Simlo Seeds and Integrated Seed Sector Development ISSD projects facilitated the training under the Dutch Embassy.
Bikula mu environment ngeri healthy gateri mu ndwadde compared ku womikola kozi plain way.
Farmers were introduced to disease-resistant seed varieties. Some of the farmers and farm input dealers commented on the training.
Shall keep engaging Syngenta to come and impart more skills and knowledge within the community.
If you take care of them very well, you get the yields very fast. And I would say instead of playing matatu and things like that.
This study, it has enabled me to find out more about agriculture. For example, these new seeds.
Other topics covered included soil testing, nursery bed preparation, irrigation. Story filed by Juko Collins for UBC News.
Now, in our market update, and of course focusing on the forex market, the shilling, that is the local currency, continues to gain ground against the hard currency, which is the dollar, and it's also performing a little bit better with other currencies. That is the pound, the euro, the Tanzanian shilling, the Kenyan shilling, and of course with trading against the dollar, it stands at 3,735, 3,745, buying and selling respectively, as we see in this preview. Well, let's take a short break and return with our international news. Stay with us. Now let's cross borders over to Egypt, where Egypt's former president Mohamed Morsi, who was ousted by the military in 2013, has died after fainting in a courtroom. Egypt's public prosecutor said Morsi, a top figure in the now banned Islamist movement Muslim Brotherhood, collapsed moments after addressing the court from a cage where defendants are kept during sessions. He was speaking at a hearing on charges of espionage. The medical report showed no apparent recent injuries on Morsi's body, and Morsi, who was 67, had been in custody since being ousted following mass protests a year after he took office. Now, officials then launched a crackdown on his and Muslim Brotherhood supporters. Morsi's hearing in capital Cairo was related to charges of espionage emanating from suspected contacts with the Palestinian Islamist group Hamas. And over to Sudan. Sudan's former president Omar al-Bashir has appeared in public for the first time since he was overthrown in a coup in April. Bashir was driven from a jail in the capital, Khartoum, to the prosecutor's office where he was read the corruption charges against him. Surrounded by security guards, the 75-year-old former leader was wearing traditional white robes and a turban. Prosecutors say a large hoard of foreign currency was found in grain sacks at Mr. Bashir's home after he was ousted, bringing to an end of nearly 30 years in power. The former president walked briskly on Sunday from a vehicle into the prosecutor's office, smiling and chatting with guards, but returned minutes later scowling.
In the world of sports, with 4 days to the Africa Cup of Nations 2019, CAF has appointed 7 ambassadors for the tournament. The list contains legends of African soccer. We have the details.
Хорошо подготовились к этой игре, но посмотрим, насколько они хорошо подготовились. Пока что в атаке сборная Côte-d'Ivoire.
The Confederation of African Football has revealed the 2019 Africa Nations ambassadors. 7 African football legends named for duty include Samuel Eto'o, a full-time CAF Player of the Year in 2003, 2004, 2005 and 2010. He also won the Africa Cup of Nations with Cameroon in 2002. Yaya Toure, who was crowned CAF Player of the Year for 4 times in a row, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and ultimately guiding Côte d'Ivoire to the Africa Cup of Nations in 2015. Didier Drogba of Ivory Coast, the 2 times CAF Player of the Year in 2006 and 2009, and ranked among the foremost forwards of his generation. Rabah Majar, who was part of the squad that won Algeria's AFCON title in 1990, has also been named. Nwankwo Kanu of Nigeria, who featured in 6 AFCON editions from 2000 to 2010, has made the list, with the highlight of his career being his coronation as CAF Player of the Year in 2006 and 2009. Alhaji Diouf, the only Senegalese to have been crowned CAF Player of the Year, decorated in 2001 and 2002. The last one on the list is Ahmed Al-Khattab. Ranked among the best African players of all time, Al-Khattab was the first Egyptian to win the Africa Player of the Year in 1983. The 7 are the 2009 Africa Cup of Nations ambassadors.
Meanwhile, Uganda Cranes will not lack morale boosters when the Africa Cup of Nations tournament gets underway on Friday. This is due to various companies that have invested in fans' presence at the Africa's premier soccer showpiece.
The Uganda Cranes need not worry about lack of fans during the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations tournament that gets underway on Friday.
I take defensive players and attacker.
More than 1,000 Uganda fans are expected in Egypt, colours of various companies, the latest being Betway Uganda, that is ferrying Martinez Mukalazi and Emmanuelson Mubiru. Betway also plans various activations during the tournament, and a sports thought leadership workshop that starts on Tuesday at Golden Tulip Hotel in Kampala is one of the few things that the company does for sports growth in Uganda.
The topics are more on commercial revenue in sports, job opportunities in sports, brand, how do you position your brand in the sports industry, rights, funds engagements, and for players. Players don't know their player rights. They just hand over their image rights without knowing what is at stake. So we'd like people to learn from that experience. And we have speakers from South Africa. Ashley Cotton is the lead, and we'll be able to learn from them from Forward Zone, South Africa.
The two-day workshop, which is the second in that line, will attract most of Uganda's sports officials, with the various federations invited. John Barnes, Sentamo, reporting.
The Guardians Association has started its program of spreading the game across the country. This has been evident at the Eastern Uganda Regional Qualifier at Jinja College School.
When Uganda Chess Parents and Guardians Association started about 5 months ago, they aimed at spreading the game across the country. The activity calendar has started with the Eastern Region Chess Youth Championship Qualifier at Jinja College School.
I am very proud to have had the opportunity to be able to organize a tournament for you. You are the champions of this tournament. So before I say anything, regardless of who won and who did win, who came first and who came second, who came third, I want you to all know that what you have done today is a very big thing. You're the first in this country. We're talking about the whole of Uganda and all the children in this country to play this tournament.
The tournament that targets players below 18 years will have qualifiers in the 4 regions of Uganda and a final to be graced by the best 3 players in each age category from each region.
I would like to thank the Chess Parents and Guardians Association for organizing this event in collaboration with our other sponsors, JESA, Stanbic Bank and others. It shows that chess in the regions is growing and we're impressed with their organization.
At the first stop during the Eastern Region qualifiers at Jinja College School, 15 schools took part.
I've seen the under-8s playing as much as the elder ones would do, even playing better. And we as JESA will continue sponsoring the game because we believe that milk fuels the young minds.
Some of the best players at this qualifier include Jinja College Moses Opong, who won the under-14 boys category with maximum points after 8 rounds.
You are allowed to celebrate what you have achieved, but try to raise the bar a little higher each time you succeed.
Other brilliant players were Ephraim Langalanga, Babirie Hope, Vicky Lonjale, and Bonina Mangala.
And I'm so happy that I made it as the first person in this tournament. It has been quite challenging at the moment as the players that are actually quite challenging, but I'm so proud that I've made it.
The next stop for this Uganda Chess Parents and Guardians Association Chess Youth Championship is Gulu for the Northern Region next month. John Barnes, Centum, reporting.
On the headlines, President Museveni meets World Health Organization director, discuss Ebola situation. Police says UN officials to record statement over BOU saga. Ousted Sudan President Bashir makes first appearance since coup. And in sports, CAF appoints 7 ambassadors for AFCON 2019. And that does it for News Tonight. Thank you for sticking with us on Sign Language. Mugalu Mohammed, I am Rodan Gonzi. Good night.